Guys, welcome to your October teacher induction program session. Glad you guys are all here. All of you look great. Some of you look fantastic. Just kidding, all of you look fantastic. And we'll go ahead and get started. And if you've not done so already, just put it in chat. Please post a question, a topic, or you can even comment on something that's already there for Tip Talk. And I'll get into a little bit later kind of what my idea is with that. So
the piece of Halloween candy, the cough drop, the pen or pencil, the paper, cough drop, Post-it, computer mouse, water soda, paper, tissue, charging cord, toilet paper, really just to make you feel comfortable today. things you might need while you're sitting there.
So we shouldn't have had
bag. So later on, just put everything in the shopping bag and take it back where it was.
Well, technically, if we need it, then we shouldn't have to go very far.
You mean we didn't win anything? I had everything.
Me too.
I'm so proud of myself. I had a
I had a cough drop and hard candy, and I just knew I was going to be able to get double the points.
Tissue, I got both the tissues.
I found a battery.
And Chanel, I thought I should have a spoon or a fork on here. And
I would have had it too.
Wait, you got the umbrella too,
That
Deborah?
was messed up.
Yeah, and I threw it. Only because it was my daughter's in her room in the backpack. Mine's in the trunk of the car.
So part of the reason for doing this is it tough to get the kids to engage? Is it tough to get students to engage and feel part of something? Do they say, oh, I've been sitting here all day long? And it is possible to get them out of the chair. So maybe it's an idea, maybe it's something you can try in a class or something, but just something I thought I'd share with you this afternoon.
I like it.
I like it.
No points for that? No points.
Full points.
We have a great idea for our
I'll
kids
give you
now.
points, Shelly. You
10
get
points.
points for me.
10 points, Mrs. Purdy. I'm putting it in the grade book right now.
Kids would want.
Got my little cold.
Right?
okay, so raise your hand if you got every item on the list.
I didn't get everyone.
1, 2,
I think so.
3, 4, 5. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so David and I are game show hosts today. That's our Halloween costume. I'm Mark Summers. He's Summers Mark. Or sorry, Guy Smiley.
Okay, I gotta put some of this stuff away though. I can't work now.
And all of you get
right?
500 Double Dare slime points.
Woohoo!
Pat on the back. Fantastic. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's a great job, David. Love it. Love the idea that, go have them do a scavenger hunt.
I'm going to put my stuff away too, because I looked for it.
Yeah, I have a whole shopping bag of things now. So very cool. Awesome. Well, let me go over. So our agenda for today, I'm going to have you guys, we're going to do a kind of breakout session. Just have you guys chit chat a little bit. And then Marta Chavez is here with us. She's going to go over student assessment with us. Then we'll have a break. And then there she is. And then lastly, Wendy, Rodney, and Lance are going to go over CSTP number 2 as well. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go into your breakout rooms. Everybody at this point has turned in their grades from last quarter. Some of you, this was your first time turning in grades ever in your life. Some of you, this is your second year of doing it, or some of you, you've done it 1,000 times. You've just done it in a different school system, in a different district. And what I really want you to do is you have about 8 minutes, just kind of talk about how the experience went as far as grading and turning in grades and whatnot went to. So I'm going to put you in rooms, random rooms, about 4 people each, and just kind of have it, like I said, have a chit chat, share about how the last quarter went. And you don't have to, honestly, if you want to go beyond just talking about your grades, just how the last quarter went. Because believe it or not, you are done with the first quarter of the 2020 school year. Yay, you made it this far. So here are your rooms. You guys have 8 minutes to go ahead and chit chat about it. And then we'll bring you all back to do some debriefing. Marta, she was my, I would say my mentor teacher when I first started teaching. I still remember the day where I was in my office and my table that I sat at in the office, my eyes were gigantic. And then Marta came in and kind of talked to me about, this is how you teach and this is what you do, because I didn't have any clue. And she really was fantastic and really coming alongside me, helping me, checking on me, seeing how I was doing, and has just been a great, great friend, great resource for several years now. So all that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Marta, and the floor is yours. And then Marta, you're muted right now. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sorry, I thought I had unmuted.
You're okay.
I actually remember when you first started.
Scary times.
Yes. It was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Hi, everyone. I'm Marta. I teach at Grand Terrace. I've been around for a while. Always have a lot of fun. I always try to have fun when I teach, when I talk, when I do everything, just because otherwise things can get overwhelming. And that's not what we want, right?
Yeah.
We want to be calm. We want to be able to do things. We want to be relaxed. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about grading students and assigning their understanding of content. I don't know if you have the PowerPoint or not that I sent.
Yes, give me 1 sec. I do have it.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about how I got into it and what happened. And you know what? Just like you have mentors right now, I had a mentor. When I got to Redlands High School for my very first time, I didn't know anyone there. And there was this gentleman, an older gentleman, who looked at me from across the campus. He came to my room at the end by the parking lot, you know, where I was in the corner. And he just said, "Hi, you're new, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he says, "I have an idea. Let me help you out. Let me talk to you. Let me take you through campus." And he became my mentor, just like that. And we talked, we did different things, and he helped me through the years. And here's the thing, he was only there for 5 years, but he got me through everything. And this PowerPoint, grading students and assessing their understanding of content. He is one of the ones that actually gave me some of these things here, some of these steps. And I'm not using these or putting these here just because, it's because when he showed me, when I started, I had not taken any classes of how to teach. I mean, I had taken basics, but that's it. And he told me, if you always remember this, he says, you'll always be able to do things easier, and it will become easier and easier, which is why I am starting here. So if you can go to the next slide, how do we do that? Sometimes it feels daunting, doesn't it? It feels stressful. Sometimes you feel like, how am I going to get through this? I have to say, that was a great question. It happened to me as well. I'm not going to lie, even us veteran teachers who have been here a long time still have those days. Recently, I was feeling so overwhelmed, I had to literally walk away, especially with all this distance learning, doing it at home. So I said to myself, you know what? Let me tell you some stuff. I actually have a quote from Benjamin Franklin on the next slide. It says, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." Mr. VW also told me this the first few times, and I've never forgotten, which is why I'm sharing with you. And as CTE teachers, isn't what we do involving them, involving our students, putting them into there, having them do things, the different skills that we have all together? I think that talks about us very, very well, because we involve our students. We have them do things hands-on. We teach them how to do it. And by the time we're done, the first semester, they got it, they're happy, they're excited. They're even more excited. So that's what I think ROP is all about. So I'm going to talk to you about how I got everything together. And that's with learning goals. So I have everything, task 1, learning goals. On the next slide, it says learning goals. And I feel that before we can assess and grade our students, we need to let them know what we expect them to learn, which is why I'm discussing the goals quickly It's going to be quick. I know we have to do this. So what should you know before doing the tasks? Explain the goals, plain and simple. If we can go to the next slide, it'll explain it to you. It says, I'm asking you, do you know what helps to make your point clear? Goals. Goals that start like this. Now, my examples are because that's what I use in my classroom. I'm sure it will be different for your classroom. My first goal for this particular area, identify and explain the characteristics. For me, it's found in urine sediment. We're working on urinalysis right now. Before we even started, I gave them the goals, my expectations. Describe the chemicals found in the urinalysis. Explore the possible outcomes of results of the urinalysis. They may have an infection. It may be normal, right? Or sometimes the doctor will tell me, used to tell me, do a pregnancy test as well. And a surprise, oh my God, it's a pregnancy, not anything else that's happening, you know? So explore the possibilities, you know, so I have them talk about all that and have them prepare them ahead of time and tell them, this is what I expect from you. The next one is build a model. In my case, when we did cardiovascular system, build a model that mimics the behavior of the heart. You know, so, and I leave it open for them and I tell them, figure out how you can make a model that mimics the heart. And if you're not talking about specifically making it pump back and forth, just build the model, separate the areas, give me the chambers, tell me the atriums and the ventricles, you know, show me how the pathway of blood flows through it. Just create a model in your way. And I tell them, this I'm gonna give you a grade, but you know what? There's no right or wrong. Usually it's an A. Why? Because they put an effort and it looks like a heart. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not gonna give them a hard time with some of the things because I know some people are creative and some people are not. So, but it's the fact that they took the time to do it. The next one is correctly identify. In my case, they need to be able to correctly identify. I'm pretty sure that in this case, the cranial nerves, that's what I'm specifically working on right now in terminology. But in welding, what are the parts that you need for the welding? In construction, what do you need to know before you even start constructing something, right? So it's just the thing. So I always tell them ahead of time what the goals are, what I expect from them, what they're going to be learning. And most importantly, the students aren't going to miss the point of the lesson. They're not going to miss the point of the lesson. If we didn't have a lesson prepared ahead of time and set up and going, it would be difficult for us to assess them, right? They need to know what to expect. So they need to know what to learn, what to study, what to prepare for. So in reality, in my opinion anyways, how can a student know what you expect if you don't have a plan, right? So the goals and the planning is my way of saying, you know what? You can do this. This is what I want you to learn. This is what I expect from you. And if you do all this and you ask me for help and we do this together, you will be fine. Task 2 is the types of assessment. You know that we all have different types and different things, right? So in my case, we're going to talk about different things. But first of all, the various types of assessment, and Mr. VW, my mentor at RHS, told me, don't forget there's formative assessments, summative assessment, and pre-assessments. And you don't have to do the pre-assessments, but I do. Can you change the slide if you don't mind? So some of you have already taken classes, some of you know all about this, some of you understand it. At first I was like, what? Formative assessment. It's your first attempt, literally, of developing the instruction, monitoring your students, giving them feedback on what they're doing. And at the same time, it's going to expand your teaching. You give them feedback, they give you feedback, and you learn. You're going to find your strength. You're going to find your weaknesses in each lesson you do. So it really helps you to improve or adjust your teaching. In my case, at the beginning, I literally sometimes will go back and say, okay, let's retake the test and let me do it a different way. And I actually learned that sometimes I have to give the student an oral quiz instead. because I had one we were in the clinical section. She knew what she was doing. She could tell me orally everything. But yet, as soon as she sat down to take the test in writing, she would fail. Literally, maybe 2 questions. I would ask the same questions oral. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I would ask her the same questions orally and she'd ace the test. So I decided, okay, let me adjust this. So I would always tell her, you know what? Don't worry about the test. It's not that big a deal. Just take a deep breath, do what you can. You guys, be graceful. And I did. I would tell the students, you know, it's okay. You can take the test. Why don't we sit over here and just talk? And in that conversation where the student was not stressing, she knew everything, literally. I mean, literally. And so instead of giving her I would give her the test, then I would test her orally, and she'd pass the class. She'd pass the test. To me, if she has it here and she has the knowledge, that's what I need, right? It doesn't matter to me if she took the test in writing. If she answered the same 50 questions orally, even if she didn't take it because she froze, she passed, she knew what it was, she got her A. So I'm just saying, you know, there's different things that we can do to help them. Summative assessment. A summative assessment, what I learned was, it's used to assess the extent to which the most important outcomes at the end of the instructions have been reached. Meaning, after I taught everything, after they did, were they able to do the hands-on skills? Were they able to follow it through? Were they able to use it? And that the effectiveness was determined by their continued learning in the future. ROP, guess what ROP does? After they graduate, they actually go out there, they give them the phone call, they find out, did you go to college? Are you working in this? What are you doing with this knowledge that you learned? And for me, it has really affirmed that that I've made a difference with them, that they have gone on to the university. Some of them have worked as medical assistants before they moved on. Summative assessment is very important. Now, pre-assessment or diagnostic, I use this all the time. Before I actually start my class, my next lesson, I'll give them a little quiz to see what they know. Especially since we're in clinical, I'll tell them, okay, we're gonna be working today on the heart. And I'll ask them 5 to 10 questions, not more than 10, as the pre-assessment to know what they know so that I can know at what level to start the lesson. Do I have to start like at the very beginning, or do they already know the basics and I can go over it quickly, give them a worksheet, have them do it, and start actually at the next level? So that's what I do personally, and that usually works for me, because then I know this class is way ahead, we can go forward. But I've had classes that I had to start from step 1. And by doing the little pre-assessment, it's made a difference for me and my knowledge to know where to start. So again, this is me telling you how I do my things and what I've learned throughout the years. And again, I had that mentor, Mr. VW, who I would call. I also had Miss Q. And both of those were the 2 teachers that I would go to. And then when they needed something medical or clinical to ask me, they'd come and ask me. And we became great friends. So these are the things that I feel are important. And we're talking about the assessment and what I do. This is how I've done it. And this is what has helped me personally. And like I said, the learning goals to me and the pre-assessment to me, priceless. It's made a very big difference. So this leads us to making a plan on how you would like to assess them. I want to go over all of these because these were the things that actually helped me. Define the learning goals. I would go over the learning goals with them. I would explain it. I'm going to tell you, way back in the early 2000s, it was much different than it is now. And it has changed so much. Back then, it was so easy. They took their test, they took their notes, they took their information, they listened to the lecture, took the test, we were done. It's not like that anymore. So things have changed. But there were things that we had to learn. There were things that we had to understand. So as I went through all this, I learned how to assess my students easily. I don't have to go back to the very beginning and say, oh, administer the assessments. Oh, I have to define my assessment method because I do it automatically. So let me go over them a little bit with you. Define your learning goals. The goals actually help both you and your students' expectations of learning. Because if they know what you expect and you've told them what to expect, then they know what they have to do. They're gonna know how much to learn, what to understand. Then it's define your assessment methods. Well, basically is define your assessment, find what you need, because at the end, that's the evidence that you will be showing about your students' learning. So if you're gonna do the quizzes, if you're gonna do exams, if you're gonna do group work with a project, whatever you're going to be doing, that helps you along the way as well. And not everything has to be graded. I have assignments that I do with the students and I don't grade them. And I'll tell them, you know what, this one is a freebie, do the work, but I won't. And you know what? When I say a freebie, it's okay, I won't grade this one. Oh my God, they get so excited and they'll tell me, really? We can do this. And if we mess up, if you mess up, it's okay. You'll get it won't hurt you. And they get really excited and really happy. I still do this now. Or if they bomb a test, I'll tell them, you know what? This was a learning experience and we'll take it again next week. So make sure you study. Let's go over it. And then next time they're great. So, it's just depends on how you feel about it and how you do it and how you handle it. So develop the assessment. This is where you make sure that yes, exactly. So where you make sure you have prompts, make sure you have rubrics and clear, specific performance criteria. Meaning, these are the steps you need to follow. These are the ways I expect you to do this. When I'm teaching you this format, there's a reason for it. And so be specific, develop your criteria, make sure you have your rubrics. In whatever format, if you don't want to do a rubric, then don't do a rubric, but have a criteria for them. Do it in a different way. And I'll be honest with you, I don't do a rubric for every assignment. Right now, I just assigned them research for medical disease, right? And that one I created a rubric for because I wanted to make sure that they knew they needed the disease, the causes, preventions, prognosis, all these things I wanted to make sure they knew. So I gave them the rubric and I told them what I expected. And today they're like, okay, we're ready, Ms. Chavez. And then I even asked them, how long do you think you'll need for this project? They told me 2 weeks. And then I said, okay, 2 weeks sounds fair. And then I told them after, they told me, I'll agree to 2 weeks, November 7th, because I just assigned it today. But I said, but there's no late work, there's no anything else. We have to turn it in on time. And you know what? A couple of students said, can we turn it in early? Hallelujah. That's how I felt. Absolutely. Turn it in early. I'm great with that. So that's just what I've done with my students, especially now. So I let them put the due date and they're very, very happy that I gave them the 2 weeks. Really, Ms. Chavez? It's not just a week? No, 2 weeks is good. So that's how we did it. Then we're going to integrate your assessment with your course. Make sure that whatever test you're giving them, whatever assessment you choose to give them, has to do with what you're teaching them. I have students who tell me, but Ms. Chavez, it's not fair. My other teacher gave me a test and nothing of what she told us we were going to take the test on was on the test. And even to me, it's like, whoa. So I just make sure that whatever I tell them is going to be on the test is going to be on the test. I might take away some things, but I'll never put more than what I told them that they needed to review and study. So it just makes it easier. So if they expect it from me and I expect it from them, they know that if I say this is going to be there, this is going to be there. but not anything from 2 weeks ago, because then they'll stop trusting me. And if they don't trust me, then that messes up the class, to be honest. Okay, and so communicate your assessments, let them know what the expectation is, let them know what the test is gonna be. So I'm talking about, if you're going to give them a test, let them know you're gonna give them a test or an exam. But if you're gonna give them a quiz, and a quiz to them is normally 5 to 15 questions, don't give them a test of 50 questions, because then they'll freak out and they weren't expecting it and they wouldn't know what to study about. Make it clear to them what they need to know. If you're giving a lecture and you want them to pay attention and you're going to give it tomorrow, tell them, I'm giving a lecture. Be ready to take notes. Be ready to do what you need to do, because that makes a big difference too. Projects, discussions, etc. You'll be giving all those things along the way, but let them know what you're going to be doing. I really feel communication is very important. And that includes starting with your syllabus. Syllabus is important. Using handouts when you're doing the work, that's important. And then you give them additional things besides that. Thank you, Meg. I appreciate that, but it's true because it makes a difference. Administer the assessments. This includes essays, projects, and tests. I mean, an assessment could be, they're in a group work, they're doing a skill, and you're standing there observing to make sure they're doing it right. That's an assessment. So it doesn't necessarily have to be big, difficult things. It's things that they're learning along the way, and you can see that they're doing it right. And if not, you go and adjust it. Then we have analyze the results. Of course, that's the results of the test and everything. But you know what? Make sure that whatever you do is based on the expectations you gave them. Don't go telling them, oh, but you didn't do this and you should have done that if you didn't teach it. And I have heard people do that. So they can see the difference, they'll understand, and they'll call you out on it. But you never did that. You never explained that to us. You never told us. So make sure that whatever you do is based on what you're actually teaching them. And that will help their grade as well, because they know what to expect. They'll be prepared for what you're giving them. If you change it up, it's not their fault. It's actually yours and mine, because we didn't do it. And then reflect and revise, whether good and bad. I always explain to them what was right or wrong, and I follow it up with what would happen in the field based on that. In the medical field, of course, I teach medicine, so everything goes back to medicine. I tell them, if you didn't take that blood pressure correctly, and it was 150 over 110, this can lead to a stroke. This can lead to a heart attack. And if you just put 120 over 80 because you got scared, you just are going to ruin this person's life, right? You have to make sure you're accurate. You have to make sure that everything is done the right way. And I'm going to tell you one thing. When you reflect and revise, like I said, be honest with them. And then I do that again at the end of the year. I do a survey with them. I give them a survey to adjust my class. And I tell them, how was the class this semester? What do you think I could have done different? Tell me what you liked and what you didn't like about me and my teaching. And oh my God, be prepared, because they will be brutally honest. If for some reason they didn't like something you did, they will tell you. They will tell you. And I've gotten some doozies. And I will tell them, hey, wait. What did you expect? Did you really expect me not to follow up on something you did, etc.? Yes, study guide to what's on the quiz. Test and only that, because it's not fair to them when you change it. Just be prepared though. If you're gonna do what I'm doing at the end of the year, I really learn from them though. For the most part, they tell me, oh, Ms. Chavez, this class is awesome. Oh, I love how I learned. I love how you taught us how to do the different injections. I love, the different things. But they will also tell me, hey, Ms. C, can we change, instead of doing the test this week, can we do that instead? And I will tell them, you know what? No, we're not gonna change all the tests. We can change it once in a while, and I'm good with that. But there's some tests that have to be the test. So, but it's good when you talk to them and you change things around and you make it fun. And I always joke around with my students. I always have fun. They know that they have a line that they have to follow, but they also know that they can talk to me. So now we're going to go into the types of assessment. So that essays. I have them do essays on diseases and new things that they find out or that they see an article on. And then I'll tell them, okay, that's really awesome. When they bring it to me, let's do a little project on it. Let's find out about it. Because they're interested, you know? Tests and exams, like I told you earlier, focus on the knowledge you have imparted. If you focus on something else, then how are they gonna know? Quizzes, as many as you feel you need along the teaching. My quizzes, sometimes they're graded, sometimes they're not. Half the time, they're not. Projects, we have different projects based on our specific fields, but the projects are important. We do clinical days. I have 1 day a week where we have a clinic about every 2 weeks or so. And with medical assistant 2, we do them all the time. With medical assistant 1, we don't. Peer assessment, I believe in peer assessment and peer teaching, because if the students are learning, I give them a rubric and I tell them, okay, you're testing them on this, you're doing this, you're checking their skills, because I'll have them work on blood pressure, and one of the students is actually listening to it, and I'll tell them. But the main thing is, you guys, don't forget, you have the final say. If they're telling them they're not doing right, but you know they're doing it right, let them finish. You don't have to tell them anything, and at the end, you correct the grade. You know what's right and wrong. But it gives them a chance to interact with their classmates and work together and show their knowledge. And with peer teaching, I love peer teaching, because I know the students that I'm assigning to the student that needs that little extra help. And then 2 things happen with it. The student that needs help learns it in a different manner than I'm teaching it. And that's what they needed. And less stress, because it's not the teacher doing it. And then the student, you know that they're showing you their knowledge, and they're emphasizing that knowledge, and they're really learning it well because they feel proud to teach it to someone else. And that's the experience I've had with it. And then, of course, we all have our hands-on skills, right? Different areas, different fields, but they work with each other, in my case, using scenarios and guidelines to assess knowledge. And I'll watch them and I'll observe them and know what to do the next way. It really does, Mr. Matar, it really does. It goes a long way when they're able to work together and trust each other when they're doing it. So, and you know, there's a lot more than here, right? Because I do pair share, I do, you know, peer teaching, I do different things. And whatever idea comes into my mind that I think they would be good for them to practice with at that time, depending on the student, I do it. So those are the basic ones I use, but there's always more. And I'm sure it'll be different with you depending on what you're teaching. And the last one is grading. Grading students' work. Like I said, for me, it used to be so simple many years ago. Things change. And now there are so many things to consider. So, is it a straight grade? Did you use the student's learning style? Did you explain your grading policy? Does he get what he deserves? Are you consistent? Meg, you cut on. Are you keeping your students informed? Well, you guys, you know what? That part that says, does he get what he deserves? I actually heard at least 7 or 8 teachers throughout the years tell me to my face, that child got the grade he deserves. And the student earned that grade and now he has to live with it. Really? How do you answer that? How do you respond to that? I remember this one person that I told, you know what? If I got to the point where I felt the student deserves a grade, I think that's the end of my teaching. Because think of it this way. The student earned his grade because of how you're teaching. Have you thought of that? I remember that. And she told me that, but the same student had an A in my class. And she asked me, how can you have an A in your class, but he's failing everything else? And my answer to that person was, you know what? You want to know why? Because I'm nice. You know, want to know why? Because he will come and he'll ask me, Miss Chavez, I didn't understand that. Can I retake the test? And me, I would say, yes, of course. You want to come at lunchtime and study with me so that you know what you're doing? And then they will come and take the test. If that specific student will come and stay after school to get extra help. So while I was teaching my after school class, he'd be on the other table studying his terminology. And the teacher kept telling, oh no, you're just giving him the grade. And I was like, no, he earned his grade. Well, I don't give remakes. I said, oh, well, maybe that's why he has the grade. So when I said, does he get what he deserves? Oh my God, I was furious when that teacher said that. But everyone's different, right? So all these questions you have to think about, because I honestly am telling you, when I get to the point that I feel that student got what he deserves and I don't want to help him, that's my last year of teaching. Because I shouldn't be grouchy and grumpy and do that to the students. It's not the students' fault, is it? So, but that's just my personal feeling. So with that said, there are so many things. So what do you do? What would you answer them? Think about that, okay? If you ever get to that point that you're feeling like that, how would you answer that question for yourself? So doing the grading, is it difficult? I want to say not really. It's on the next slide. Yes, thank you, Mary. That's exactly how I feel. If they're taking the time to study and continue studying and doing all that, then why can't I give them a little bit of time? That's exactly how I feel. It's exactly the same thing. So is it really difficult to get the grades that you need prepared? Not really. Follow your plan. Set yourself up for being positive. Set yourself up to have everything on time. Be on task. Have good grading practices. Keep your students informed. That's actually should have been number one, in my opinion. Adjust your grading scale when needed. Because with some students, we need to do that. We need to give them a break, right? And give yourself a break. Charlie, you're right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. If they never do any work and they want to do it everything at the very end, that's a no. But if they want to do it along the way and they need the extra help and they want to redo a test, then I say yes. They do need empathy, but also don't let them take advantage either. Give them the grace. If they need the extra time, I'll tell them, have the 2 weeks. You can have 2 weeks to do it, turn it in. Don't wait too long, because then honestly, and I tell them, I just told them this recently, you have 2 weeks, you can go back to do the work, turn it in, and then email me and tell me you did it, because I will not go back 3 weeks to put in the grades. But if you did it, email me and I will definitely go back. That's what I just did with my students in my terminology class. And amazingly enough, yesterday I had like 20 emails. I did the work, Miss Chavez. I'm still working on the other ones. I said, okay. And I will go back and grade them and give them the points. But here's the thing. If you get tired, it's okay to stop grading. Put it aside, go back to it later. Just pace yourself. Recently, we've had so much grading with so much work I had to give my students. I was getting overwhelmed. And then Wendy and Deborah and Lisa and I, we were talking and we all helped each other out. And it was like, oh yeah, wait a minute. We do need to laugh about it. We do need to just, chill out, or gripe. But here's the thing, we made a group and we gripe and we talk and we laugh and then we're good and back, good to go. So give yourself a break. It's not just the students that need grace. You need that grace too. You can stop today and get back to it tomorrow. Just walk away. Sometimes we just have to walk away because we need it too. We're teachers too. We work hard too. And we have things at home. We have family. We have family members, you know, everything, it happens. Give yourself some grace. I truly believe that we have to think about ourselves too. I think that's pretty much what I have to say. So,
Awesome.
does anyone
Thank
have
you.
any questions?
So yeah, if we have about time for about a question or two, does anybody have any questions about grading that they want to ask Marta?
Or comments, good and bad, what you liked, what you didn't like about what I said. I take it all and then I try to reassess.
Marta, question for you. I am struggling with balancing accountability for my students and that grace and leniency during distance learning. I find that I have a couple different situations, some working in my benefit and some kind of working against me. I'm a new instructor, establishing a whole lot more organization than my predecessors. And so I want to give the students grace because I feel like they enrolled into a course expecting one type of setup, and now they have a different instructor who does things entirely different, more organized, more informed, whatever the case may be, less lax than their previous teachers. And so I'm struggling with holding them accountable, but understanding you're young, you don't know how to manage your time, so you're just not going to get it until I help you and the rest of your teachers help you. Like, do you have advice?
Well, funnily enough, I ended up having to give my students a time management form. I had them do an assignment on time management. I have an Excel form that I did.
Can you please send me that? I tried doing the same thing and I got like 3% participation.
Well, what I did it simple because what I told him to do was, okay, you need to tell me how much time. I want you to put down how much time you are in school, spending time doing schoolwork. I want you to tell me how much time you sleep. Tell me how much time you spend on the computers, on videos, on social media. So I did all these different things. And then all the students, most of the students turned it back in. And I told them, no, don't tell me. Don't turn it into me. I don't want you to turn it in. This is personal. This is for your knowledge. And I got emails and chats from my students telling me, you know what, Ms. Chavez, I did not realize that I spend 12 hours trying to do work. And I said, well, you know what? Put it on your calendar. Make a time. Make that format. Tell yourself, this day between this time and this time, I'm going to work on this class. You have a day in between. So maybe set it up so you have the schedule so that you can do the assignments. And that time management form, it actually helped them. But I did not let them turn it into me. All I did was tell them, mark it, when you have it complete, mark it on Classroom. I'll give you points for it. And then think about what, and tell me how this helped you. And they did. They just wrote me on there because I put it as a question on there with the attachment to it. And they put it, oh, Ms. Chavez, this was great. I did not know how much time I spent on social media. Or I didn't know that I only slept 4 hours a night. But by the time they did it, it seemed that they worked. So if you want, I'll be more than happy to share it with you. But I think the key was that I didn't make it an assignment, that they had to turn it into me. I think the key was that I told them, do it for yourself. When you do it, let me know.
Yeah.
But I also added this, be honest. Be honest to yourself. Don't lie to me, because lying to me doesn't make a difference. This is for you, not for me.
So Marta, if you could email that to us, we can actually put that in our teacher binder so that everybody who's here can have access to it and download it and all that. And yeah,
Okay.
that's a great assignment. So if you guys could, Go ahead.
I will be honest though, I want to let you know, I give Lisa the credit for this because Lisa shared it with me and I gave it to them as an assignment, but absolutely I'll share it with you.
And this is another part of teaching like a pirate. We beg, borrow, and steal as much as we can.
We do.
So yeah, just share it around. So if you guys could give Marta a hand, kind of a silent, it was like the silent era hand claps, but thank you so much, Marta. And again, like you are just one of my favorite, there we go, that's cool. You were one of my favorite people ever. I will say that forever and ever. Always a milestone in my life, and just glad that we get to do life together. So hopefully I can share what's in front of me. Let's see. So so we have been going through the teaching standards because they're just awesome, just good foundational things for you guys to learn. And therefore, I'm asking each of you to kind of work together to share a standard. And so, so our next group is going to share with us standard number 2, which is creating and maintaining an effective environment for student learning, is Wendy, Rodney, and Lance. So go ahead and give them a big round of applause, and then I will give you guys the floor. Do you guys want me to, or here, I'll do it so you guys can share your screens, and then yeah, it's all yours.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. All right, let me see if I can do this. Hang on. Where is... All right, so I don't use Zoom, I use Google Meets. So it's kind of foreign to me, so bear with me. All right, can you guys see my PowerPoint? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna present it. Okay, so we are talking about standard number 2, which is creating and maintaining effective environment for student learning. And what it says is, oops. Teachers promote social development and responsibility with a caring community where each student is treated fairly and respectfully. They create physical or virtual learning environments that promote student learning, reflect diversity, and encourage constructive and productive interactions among students. They establish and maintain learning environments that are physically, intellectually, and emotionally safe. Teachers create a rigorous learning environment, California's Standards for the Teaching Profession, 2009, 7, with high expectations and appropriate support for all students. Teachers develop, communicate, and maintain high standards for individual and group behavior. They employ classroom routines, procedures, norms, and supports for positive behavior to ensure a climate in which all students can learn. They use instructional time to optimize learning. All right, so I'm going to break it down a little bit through a couple of them. And what this means to me is, in order to allow students to learn to the best of their abilities, the classroom environment needs to be effective, encouraging, academic, and safe. The students need to feel accepted and welcome in the classroom to even want to learn and develop. So they need to be able to trust you. They need to be able to trust their environment. They need to be able to trust their fellow students, right? In order to their work to be effective and their learning to be effective. The classroom needs to be a place where students feel accepted and safe enough to share their opinions, questions, and grow in their content knowledge. And this is especially true in our classrooms. Most of us are doing hands-on stuff. They need to be able to present to the class, or to share, or to draw blood, or be able to trust each other to do the skills that they need to do. In my class, we do a lot of collaboration, and they need to be able to trust that their partner is going to complete the project or help them along the way. It is important to maintain an atmosphere of respect and encourage the students to accept different points of view. The classroom is full of diversity, and it is important that my expectations and actions reflect and demonstrate an accepting attitude for the diversity. So our students come from all different walks of life in every class that we teach. In the art room, I have students that are very artistic, that have taken the art pathway for 4 years. But then I have students, this is their first time taking an art class, and they have no idea what they're doing. So they need to be able to understand each other's backgrounds. It is also important that my classroom is effective and directs students in a climate that is acceptable for learning. Students collaborate and work with each other to share ideas and projects. They learn how to give and receive feedback about their work. And again, that comes with trusting each other and trusting that they're not going to be judged in a harsh manner when they're presenting their work to their peers and to myself. You know, they need to know that they're going to get constructive feedback that's positive, that they can build on. They can build their skills and share freely. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few of the standards. So creating a physical or virtual environment that promotes student learning, reflect diversity, and encouraging constructive and productive interactions among students. So in my classroom, it looks something like this. I didn't have any full pictures of my classroom, so I just did a diagram of what it looks like. So we have a collaboration space. When you walk in the door, we've got these rows are computers. And I don't know if I counted the right amount, but we have our computers are in rows. And then we have collaboration tables at the end of each row where the students can get together and work and come up with ideas and not always be on the computer. When the students are in my room, it's never quiet in my class. It's always noisy and productive. So it's noisy and productive, I should say. They're always working together to share ideas and to get feedback from each other. And then in the back here, did I have a question?
No, just
Okay. Okay. And so encouraging constructive and productive interactions. So that's where that comes into play, is the collaboration space that we have throughout my classroom. And the students are free to get up and roam around the classroom, unless of course I'm standing in front talking or somebody else is presenting in front of the classroom, and we go over that just to be respectful of each other. And then I have graphic design elements all over my classroom on the walls. I lay out their work. I hang their work all over the walls, so they're proud to see. And actually, I was thinking about when we do go back, hopefully if we go back this year, I was going to go in early and print out some of the work that they've done this year. And then when they come in, they're able to see their work up on the walls, and that would be exciting for them. They're like, it's their space, you know? Creating a rigorous learning environment with high expectations and appropriate support for all students, and then developing, communicating, and maintaining high standards for individual or group behavior. So in my classroom, that means collaboration, workplace expectations. So we're ROP teachers, and we're teaching them what it would look like if they were in a working environment, right? So it's important for us to have those expectations of what they should expect if they were to go into a graphic design studio, or if they were to go into a print shop, and what kind of environment that would feel like. So I'm trying to build that standard in my classroom. It's still pretty new, and then with the distance learning, it's just crazy trying to do that right now. But I want them to walk into the lab and feel like it's a working space. It's not just a classroom. I want them to learn, but I also want them to get the feeling of what it's like to actually work in that environment. And these are some of, so I was talking to Marta a minute ago, and I was pulling pictures today. And I'm going to try not to cry, but seeing these photographs is just, it's really hard right now to see these photographs, but not see our students, right? So these are collaboration spaces. This is what my classroom looks like all the time. Students helping each other and working, giving each other feedback and advice, communicating in these circles and feeling safe, you know, that they can share their ideas and collaborate with each other. So these are just some examples of what the classroom looks like. And then employing classroom routines, procedures, norms, and supports for positive behavior to ensure a climate in which all students can learn. So when my students come in, I have them do a daily check-in. They have to sign in every day, whether in the classroom or online, they do a daily check-in form, and that helps me take their attendance for both inside the classroom and during virtual learning. They know that they come in, they get started on projects in the real classroom, but online we talk about if anybody has any issues or problems, if anybody has questions, and then they can go ahead and get started. They know that they can ask for help when needed, and then they know that they can ask others for help, other students, rather than just asking me. They can reach out to other students for help, and that's that collaboration that they get. And finally, using instructional time to optimize learning. So setting deadlines is a really big deal in my class, and it's hard right now with distance learning. I try to gauge my assignments to give them enough time to complete. So usually it's 3 or 4 class periods. And I tell them it's very important in the real working world that you have these deadlines. You're going to have a boss that's not going to let you extend that deadline. So for you to be able to meet this right now and to get used to that, having a deadline rather than a due date, you kind of get that feeling of the real workplace. So time management is a huge deal. And I know that we are all dealing with time management issues with our students right now. And but we just need to keep pressing on and making sure that they understand how important time management is. So, and then again, acting as if we were in a real world design lab or agency. I want them to get that feel of the real working world experience. So, and again, these are some of my other pictures. So again, this is our lab from last year, students working in the collaborative workspace, designing their work. And then this was, the other photo was when they did their interviews, their mock interviews. So being able to trust each other, so, and trust the people that are in our space is important. All right, so that's all that I have. And then, let's see, stop sharing. Okay, all right. So Rodney or Lance, thank you.
I can go. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Can people see that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I just basically kind of piggybacked on Wendy. Obviously, we're doing standard 2, creating, maintaining effective environments for student learning. I'm not going to reread that. So standard 1, promoting social development, responsibility within a caring community where each student is treated fairly and respectfully. I don't have any pictures in mine, sorry. I'm in my 6th year of full-time teaching, so I've kind of developed my ways of what seems to work for me. My first year of teaching for Riverside County Office of Education over at Patriot High School, I got hired 4 days before school started. My first day in my classroom was the day before school started. And I asked the principal, okay, you got my curriculum, all that stuff you want me to teach? And she said, nope, we don't have anything. This is a brand new program, teach it. So I kind of real quick developed my own style of teaching, I guess, of what I thought worked. In my class, this is enforced from day 1 by classroom rules being clearly set out and enforced. I relate it to working in law enforcement since I was 24 years in law enforcement. I'm teaching those classes now, where officers should treat everybody fairly and with respect. I mean, I just make it kind of clear to them on day 1, hey, here's what's expected. If you can't follow the rules, I got no problem working with your counselor to get you moved into another class. I kind of make it clear to them from day 1 that if you want to be in here, here's what you need to do. If you can't follow these rules for whatever reason, then you need to get out and get into another class or something so other people can learn. Seems to work. They know I'm serious because I have no problem pulling one out of the class if I need to let them know, hey, you know, a couple warnings, you're out of here. If you want to be in here, great. If you don't, get out. So I try to, from day 1, just kind of let them know, hey, here's what's expected. If you're going to work in law enforcement, you're going to work with people you don't like. You're going to be around people you don't like, but you're going to have to find a way to work with them. So 2, creating physical or virtual learning environments that promote student learning, reflect diversity, encourage constructive and productive interactions among students. I put a lot of my teaching items, stuff that we're going to be used throughout the school year, on display. We do death investigations. We do all kinds of stuff. I have a body bag hanging in my room, articulated skeleton hanging in my room, stuff that they can see. The fingerprint stuff is all out. Stuff that they can see. Oh, that's what we're going to be doing. So when I'm talking about it prior to building it up, they've already seen stuff. It kind of seems to keep them involved, interested. This allows them to see what they will be doing as the year progresses. These items tend to lead to productive discussions among students as far as, I hope we do this, I hope we do that, and I can hear that, so I can incorporate that into my teaching. 2.3, establishing and maintaining learning environments that are physically, intellectually, and emotionally safe. For me, I think this goes back to establishing the class rules at the very beginning of the year, letting them know the expectations, letting them know what's acceptable and what's not. My rules are probably nothing different than what they first started with in kindergarten, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 years ago, how many years. Be respectful, do what you're supposed to do. Talk when you're allowed to talk, raise your hand if you got a question. Only thing different now is probably put your phones away, take your earbuds out. Other than that, it's probably the classroom rules that they've been exposed to probably their entire career in education. Constantly monitor the students when we are doing hands-on projects to make sure they're physically safe, obviously. If we're doing something outside, or we're going to do something outside and it's 108, 110 degrees, we're probably going to do it inside. You know, watching out obviously for their safety, so they're not going home sunburned, dehydrated, complaining to their parents that their teacher kept them outside all day, which is then going to lead to complaints against me, which is then probably going to lead to me not doing that project anymore. So I kind of let them know, you know, continuing on this stuff depends a lot on you guys being safe, doing it safe, letting me know if you guys see issues also. 2.4, creating a rigorous learning environment with high expectations and appropriate support for all students. I make it clear what is expected of each student, then I enforce those expectations. Students know from day one that I'm there to help them. They can use me as a resource to find the information they need. I kind of let them know from day one that here's what we're going to be doing. Here's what's expected. You have due dates. Due dates are called due dates for a reason. It's the due date. If they were called late work dates, then I would call them late work dates. But they're called due dates because that's the day the work is due. I'll take late work, but they lose points for it. You know, I let them know right up front that I'm there to give them the information. I'm there to give them the instruction. They're there to do the work. If they're struggling, if they have a problem, if they have an issue, if they're confused, whatever, obviously come to me. We'll work on it. We'll fix it. But if their grade is their choice, they're going to earn the grade that they earn. I'm there to give them the information. They're there to return it. And I'm there to give them a grade. If it's obvious that, ooh, this assignment I gave, everybody bombed, then I'll go back, change it, work on it, ask them, hey, how come you guys bombed this? Or on a test, how come 80% of you guys missed this question? What's wrong with it? How could I have made it more clear? If it's obvious that I can do some stuff and let them retake a test, let them redo an assignment, I will. But it's their grade. It's not mine. It's their responsibility. I'm there to give them the stuff, to teach it, present it, make it as easy for them to do to an extent, but yet still as rigorous as possible. But I tell them from day one, this will be the easiest class for you to pass or the easiest class for you to fail. And I have no problem giving Fs. In today's world, the virtual learning and all that, I almost kind of feel like we're giving them this excuse to fail. I teach my class online exactly as I teach it in the classroom. That way, when we do transition back to the classroom, it's not going to be this huge transition for them. I'm not real big into the different learning platforms and I got to entertain the kids. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to figure out what game to let them play, this and that. We teach college and career readiness. If we're letting them slide simply because things are different now than normal, then we're setting them up for failure. You know, I let them know, hey, in law enforcement, if you guys are looking to go in some of these career fields, you better be able to change and adapt on the fly, because one minute you're doing this, next minute you're having to drop that and you're over here. So I think keeping them accountable, keeping them engaged, obviously, but letting them know that you're going to get the grade you earn. You're going to get the grade you deserve. If you are working your butt off and you're doing your work, or you're contacting me and letting me know, hey, I'm struggling on this or that, so I can help them, fine. But it's their responsibility to do their work, and then we work with them if there's an issue on their work. Developing, communicating, maintaining high standards for individual and group behavior. I constantly reinforce what working in law enforcement entails as far as being part of a group, a team. I enforce that reality as the students work together. I let them know all the time, when you get into law enforcement, other career fields, you're not going to like everybody you work with. You're going to have to find a way to separate personalities from professionalism. You know, I was a field training officer for years at the police department. I used to tell my trainees, over your career, you're going to have about 5, 6 real good friends. You're going to do stuff together. You're going to go places together. Families are going to hang out together. Then you're going to have the majority of the department that you're friends with, but you don't really do a whole lot with. And then you're going to have some people that you don't like and they don't like you, but you're going to have to work together, figure out a way to do that. Same thing in the class. You know, I let them know that I know everybody's not friends, but I purposely make them work with people that they're obviously not sitting next to, that they don't talk to very much, so they can learn to put that personal opinion aside, but yet work professionally in that group. 2.6, employing classroom routines, procedures, norms, support for positive behavior to ensure a climate in which all students can learn. Same thing. This goes back to setting expectations at the beginning of the year, continuing to reinforce those expectations throughout the school year. Nothing changes in my class from day 1 to day whatever 180. They know what's expected to be on time, come in, get ready for class, start, how the notes go, how the tests are presented, what's expected of them on papers. They are very, very, very clear on due dates. I'm still today taking work that was due like 43, 50 days ago. Obviously, they're losing points on it. And I tell them, you know, some points are better than no points, but I'm still giving the option to at least turn something in late so they can also experience the loss of points. It's easy for them to just say, it's late, it's not going to turn in anyways, forget about it. Well, you can't do that in the real world. You know, still, if your work project's due, you still better get it in. If it's late, yeah, there's a chance you're going to get fired, or you're still going to get it in. But from day 1, I constantly reinforce, here's what's expected. In my classes, there's probably no confusion on what is expected, and that's my goal. And then using instructional time to optimize learning, given adequate time to complete work, whether it be in the class or at home. Class instructional time is split between lectures, relevant videos, worksheets, practical hands-on work. Like I said, I let them know from day 1 that their grade is their responsibility. If their grade is suffering because they don't understand something, they're struggling on something, then absolutely 100% I will help them. If their grade is struggling because they're just not doing their work and they're not turning it in, and they're not contacting me to let me know there's a problem, I'm realistically not, I tell them all the time, I'm not going to come hunt you guys down to get your work. It's your responsibility to turn your work into me, or email me and let me know, or contact me on the office hours or whatever. Here's a problem I'm having, here's what's up. And many of them do. But I tell them right up front, if you don't turn your work in, I'm not going to come searching for it. I'm not going to come hunting you down. I'm not going to come chasing you. If you don't care, and you're using, especially now, the virtual, well, you know, I'm really not engaged or whatever. Well, engagement is this is a two-way street. You know, it's not 99% our responsibility to engage them. It's their responsibility to get online, be engaged, and do what they would be doing just as if they were in class. So I let them know, I give them adequate time, and we do stuff from lecture to videos to worksheets and hands-on work. So I think for mine, it's just setting those expectations from day one, reinforcing them throughout the year, and letting them see that there's consequences to their actions, because we're preparing them for college and careers. College and university professors are going to tell them the day after the assignment was due when they come to turn it in, hey, thanks for doing it, but sorry, see you later. And in the workforce, law enforcement, you don't get your report turned in on time, your case doesn't get filed, and you get written up or you potentially get fired. So I think the quicker we get them on that pathway, the quicker they will succeed out there in the quote real world. So that's it for me. Stop sharing. I guess I stopped sharing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, so my name is Lance Ramsden. I am at Moore Middle School, and I teach the career exploration class there. So let me share my screen real quick, get into present mode. I wasn't going to go through all the standards. Wendy and Rodney did a terrific job in going through those standards, so I wasn't going to do that again. I just took a small piece, or one of the standards, the 2.2 on creating a virtual classroom, and just got real specific with it. And so what I did is I set up a Bitmoji Classroom. And so I'm going to kind of just walk you through. I know a lot of you guys probably already have Bitmoji Classrooms. Hopefully there's one or two of you that don't, and we're thinking about it. And I can kind of help you walk you through and show you how to set one up. So Bitmoji templates are everywhere. You can find them everywhere. And towards the end of here, I'll show you where I guess CRY-ROP also has a bunch of Bitmoji Classrooms that Chris made me aware of on Tuesday. Which this is not one of those templates. Thanks, Alexis. So I use this in conjunction with my core syllabus. It's just a cool way to introduce the core syllabus to parents and students, where it's not just a bunch of lines and paper for them to sign and read. Each one of these little links will link up to a slide. So like, for instance, you go to about the class, and it gives you a little brief explanation about the class, like semester at a glance, some big ideas, things like that. Then you hit the home button at the very bottom, and it takes you back home. You can click on homework and what is expected for my homeworks and projects. Same thing with Meet the Teacher. You can actually put a video in here. The way I did it was I use Screencastify. You just record a video on Screencastify, and then you can insert it here. It's a great way for like open house and stuff like that. If you want to introduce your class to the parents and stuff, it's a good way that to put that in there. Then the same thing with grading. You could show, it's a great visual for kids and parents on how your grading works, instead of just kind of just plain text. They can see it in the pie. I give them the A, B, C, D, F breakdown. Same thing with getting help. We have student support hours that we have to put in every day, Monday through Friday, from 2:05 to 3:15. So so I could have probably put in here the link, the Zoom link that they could click to get into. Contact information, your email address. If you have classroom social media accounts that you've set up, you can definitely link them in here. Live instruction, what to expect when they get into live instruction. Introduce a new career field through my live instructions. It's also where I'll introduce the weekly project. They can expect to be put into breakout rooms for small group discussions, and other technologies that I use are like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime Videos, CBS, Discovery, whatever I can kind of come up with to introduce careers. So basically, this is my classroom. Let me escape out. and show you what it's made of. So basically all it is just Google Slides or PowerPoint. And each one of these little icons, you can see here where it says slide 5 about the class. And how that is done is you just create the slides, right? And you go, for example, about the class, you would just go to insert and where is it? And you hit link. And then from here, you can link up any one of the slides that would go in there, and you just hit apply. So that's how you set up these links so that when they click on it, it goes to the particular slide that you've already populated with the information that you needed. So if you wanted to present this in like a Google Classroom or something like that, you could just save it as like a PDF so that the students and parents can't see the slides, but they can still click on the links, right? Like I said, you can get these Bitmoji Classrooms anywhere. This is a Bitmoji of myself that I took off a Bitmoji itself, and you created it yourself, or I created myself. To find, Chris showed me this on Tuesday. If you go into CRY-ROP and you go into Teacher Binder, and you go into distance learning resources, CRY-ROP has already set up a bunch of Bitmoji Classroom templates, right? And so you can click on any one of them and make a copy, and then start creating your own Bitmoji Classroom once it pops up. But it's pretty simple. You know, you can change these things out, erase these, put in your own Bitmoji stuff, put in your own icons and things like that. And then this is where you would, well, these are just other templates, but this is also where you could put in your links for your Bitmoji Classroom. Basically, that's it. I just wanted to show you something kind of fun that was virtual, because we're in that world now. And yeah, that's all I really have. If you guys have any questions, I guess you can ask about this, but it's once you get started, it's a pretty simple process, but it's a kind of cool, fun little way to liven up your classroom, especially when you're introducing like your course syllabus and stuff like that. A fun way for the kids can always come back here if they have questions about these things too, and click on them instead of trying to read through a course syllabus.
What I wanted to ask, so in our tip talk, there was one question that luckily I was able to grab before our internet went down, which is kind of come up already today. And one of the questions asked, late work. What are some effective options for handling late work? I've tried enforcing strict policies in the past, but finding that it doesn't improve how much work gets turned in on time. And as a result, students' grades suffer. Maybe some teachers could share some of their best practices for balancing flexibility while still maintaining the importance of due dates and organizing skills for students. So if anybody wants to chime in, how would you answer late work?
Hey, Chris, I'll go first. I don't know how the other schools are doing it, but Oakview on Mondays and Fridays, that's kind of the kind of open days as far as our periods go. So we do our live instruction on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So on Mondays and on Mondays and Fridays, those are kind of the days that I give them, and I kind of give them on Mondays kind of a brief preview of what we're going to do during the week. And then the rest of that time I go through and I help them kind of get those late assignments done from that prior week. That way they're done. Mm-hmm. And then on Fridays, I kind of do the same thing. I summarize my lessons and everything that we've kind of gone through for the week. And that last, 15 or 20 minutes, I give them to complete those assignments. So in my class, if they're attending class, and there's students that are there on a regular basis, I don't have that issue with late work because I give them time to do it on Mondays and Fridays in class. And like with the virtual learning, I don't assign anything that I know that they can't get done while they're with me in my class. So that's the way I handle it. So I really don't have an issue with the late work because if they're attending class, they get it done.
Awesome. Anybody else? How do you guys handle late work in your class?
I mean,
For me,
I typically,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead. You're fine.
For me, first quarter, I was really lax on late work. I'm like, okay, it has to be done by the deadline, but yeah, that didn't work out so well. So this quarter, I told them we need to really follow these guidelines of, what our curriculum is based off of. And as Rodney was saying, we're teaching them to be college and career ready. If my students go into a design agency, their boss is not, or their client is not going to accept, a late project. It's just not going to work. They're not going to get paid. So we need to teach them those skills. So I said, you can turn it in late, but you will be marked down. I said, the first 2 days is 10%, and then anything after that is 50%. So, and like Rodney said, some points are better than none. And I hate doing that because I don't like, marking them down, but they're not going to be prepared for the real world if we don't, and it's hard for me. I have teenagers of my own that are turning in late work. I'm like, you know what? You had time to do it. The teacher, I know your teachers are giving you time in class to do your work. So there's no excuse. And I give a 30-minute lecture and then give them plenty of time to complete their work. So.
Awesome. So I used to have a picture of a ketchup bottle that had my name on it. And what the ketchup bottle meant was that was a day I would allow them to just catch up on any assignment they might need to be working on that day. And so it was or if they had a big project, they just needed some extra time. And so that's another idea that you can give them maybe some extra time to continue to working on whatever assignment or project they may have as well going on. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, so I wanted to show the Tip Talk Padlet. Please I implore you, if you have questions, put them up there, not just for us to answer in the office, but you guys have so much information, and I encourage you to comment on each other's and just really bounce it around, build it as a community that you can give information to, and then others can benefit from. Kind of like Amazon reviews. We always like to read those and go through those as we're exploring. So that being said, here's your exit ticket. But first, our next tip session will be next month, November 19th. Same thing, 3 to 5 on Zoom. And then before you exit out of here, what I would like for you to do is just put an idea that you have for an effective learning environment. And as soon as you type that into chat, you can go ahead and exit. And then what I'll do is I'll compile all those together and then send them out to you guys. And hopefully you guys can get some ideas. And other than that, thank you so much for being here. You guys are rock stars. You guys are doing a great job. You're at the end of October, or you're almost there. And then you're almost to the end of the year 2020. You have done it. Everybody put your hands up like this, really big. You can't see mine because it's zoomed out, but reach your hand up really high, and then now bring one of them back down and pat your back. There you go. Good job. All right. Put your idea, your effective learning environment in chat, and then we will see you shortly. Bye.